Hello and welcome to the Authentic Freedom Virtual Church. My name is Lori Lumby and I am the pastor and spiritual director of this online community. Let us pause for a moment to read from our mission statement. We are a community of men and women who consider Jesus to be our teacher while honoring the spiritual truths inherent within all sacred traditions. We recognize the divine as that which is at once outside of us, within us, and present within all of creation, and which can be acknowledged by any name, image, or presence. We believe in the inherent potential of all human beings to become self-actualized and acknowledge the spiritual journey as a formative tool in this endeavor. We believe in the law of love and seek to know more fully the love of the divine that dwells within us and which seeks to be known in the world through us in service to the betterment of our world. Before I begin today's service, I want to share with you some exciting news. The novel that I've been working on for, probably 20 years, 20 years of research, 5 years of writing, editing, and design, is finally available. Song of the Beloved, the Gospel According to Mary Magdalene. You can find this on Amazon.com in a hard copy or Kindle versions. And again, if you just go to Amazon, go to the book section and type in Lori Ann Lumby, you will find this book. Thank you. So let's pause for a moment in silence as we prepare our hearts and our minds and our spirits to receive God's nourishment for us today. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. The temple of the Lord that you are is holy. The temple of the Lord that you are is holy. The temple of the Lord that you are is holy. These are Paul's words for us today. A reminder of God's truth. A reminder that we are the temple of God. That God dwells within us, and in that dwelling, we are holy. The temple of the Lord that we are is holy. The challenge in the human condition is that we have forgotten this. We have forgotten that intimate, indwelling presence of God. We have forgotten that we are God expressing God's self in the world. That God is known in and through us, through our actions, through our presence, through our unique gifts, and the way we are called to use these gifts for our own fulfillment, but more importantly, in service to the betterment of the world. The temple of the Lord that we are is holy. The problem is that we have forgotten this. What causes us to forget this truth is the consequence of the human condition. The consequence of the human condition is a temporary false perception of separation from God. In agreeing to become human, in God allowing us to experience the human condition, we have agreed to temporary forgetfulness. The good news is that this temporary forgetfulness is just that, temporary. More importantly, this forgetfulness is a lie. We are never separate from God. We are never absent God's presence or God's action in our lives. We are never abandoned, rejected, scorned, or forgotten by God. If what Paul says is true, that we are the temple of God, and that God dwells within us, and that through that indwelling we are holy, then we are never separate from God. The invitation in the human experience is to remember what we have forgotten. This is what Jesus came to teach us. Jesus came to teach us how to remember. And he is able to teach us this because he remembered. Through his own process of spiritual development, of healing, of learning and exploring, he came to remember the fullness of his oneness with God. And once you connect with, once you experience this oneness with God, you can't not share it. So once Jesus came to this understanding, he spent the rest of his life teaching and sharing with others how to remember their own oneness with God. How to remember that the temple of the Lord that they are is holy. To remember that God dwells within them and seeks to be known in the world through them. In order to remember this oneness with God, we need only turn to Scripture to explore the lessons and the stories that Jesus told and the practices that he shared with his disciples. These practices have been maintained, protected, kept safe, and shared throughout the 2,000 plus years of developing Christianity. Unfortunately, these practices have for the most part been hidden away in monasteries, but now they are available to us all. We have an opportunity to rediscover what Jesus taught his disciples and friends. And what he taught is simple. To set time aside in our daily lives to reconnect with God. And there are a multitude of ways that we are able to do this. Through meditation, through reflection on Scripture, being in nature, discovering and cultivating our creative gifts, being in the presence of loved ones and friends, paying attention to the unfolding events of our life experience. In my understanding, a spiritual practice is ultimately anything that gives us an opportunity to experience peace, to know joy, to know love, to experience a sense of meaning and fulfillment. A spiritual practice is life-giving and nourishing and nurturing to who we are and who God has made us to be. The path to remembering is simple. Now our task is to actually do it. So in closing today, I want to share with you one mantra that helps us to remember our connection with God. This mantra is the first line of the Aramaic Lord's Prayer, and it helps us to remember that intimate connection with the divine that dwells within us and is all around us. So I share with you this mantra as our closing. And before the closing, I just want to remind you, if you found this service to be helpful and supportive of your own journey, I invite you to share it. To share it with your friends and families, to share it on your social networking sites. And if you found this to be something of value to you, I invite you to make a donation to Authentic Freedom Ministries to continue to help continue and support this ministry. So now the Aramaic mantra that helps us to remember our oneness with God. Avundeva Shemaya, 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 Avundeva Shemaya. Amen.